we can migrate up here too.
Excuse me, Vernetta. Before we do that, y'all stay seated. I need to borrow your mic. There's one thing I know of you, and you are no dummy. So you know we're up to something.
No, I had no clue. I was wondering what half the South was here.
Well, we are up to something. And when you look out there, we're up to love in action. You feel it? Yes. Everybody here just loves you and appreciates you. And, you know, we didn't get to have our Thanksgiving all-unity service, so we just figured we'd pull it off today. And one of the things we're thankful for is you, Vernetta. And I have a few notes here because I find it totally interesting that the music today was Miracles Are Happening.
Wow.
And what the world needs now is love, right? So how appropriate for what we're going to do today.
Oh my gosh.
So November of last year, I did what my teacher here has taught me to do. And I took some things into prayer and meditation, as I do each day. And during that meditation, something was revealed to me, and which I do believe was divinely inspired. And it was revealed that Unity Church of Light should have an educational fund, much like what we have at Unity of St. Louis South. And for those of you who don't know what we have at South, we have a McKee Fund. And I know, Vernetta, you're familiar with it. It was established when the husband of Julia McKee, our founding minister, made a large donation, and he asked that it be used to create an educational fund for serious Unity students in his wife's name. He asked that it be kept separate from the monies that were used to pay bills and other church expenses. And it was only used to assist Unity students with the costs associated with their education. During my meditation, it was also revealed to me that the educational fund for Unity Church of Light would be called the Holmes Fund. And for Unity Church of Light, this is so appropriate because you are their spiritual leader. You are the teacher for so many of us, from teaching classes to prayer chaplains and serving as the spiritual leader here, but also coming over to Unity South once a month and ministering to us. And you've been doing that now for 4 years. Can you believe that?
Really?
Yeah, time flies. And I'm sure you're doing a lot of things I don't know about. But anyhow, once I received this message, I enlisted the help of Jackie, your board, and others to get the word out to everyone. And I've got to tell you, the response was phenomenal.
Oh, wow.
In 4 months, we not only met our goal, but we exceeded it. And it's thanks to the generous donations of everybody in this room and many who would love to be here with you, but South still had to have a service. So they send their love, and they did. We have generous donations from so many people that made this happen. And the total, as of when I took the money out of the bank that we had set up a fund to do that, was $6,700. Was that after I closed the Holmes Fund, which we had at the bank, somebody said, "How much have you accumulated?" And I said, $6,700. And they said, "Well, I want to give 3 and make that even 7,000."
Wow.
So, it is my honor to give you this check for the Holmes Fund.
Oh my God. Oh.
presentation that she would like to make.
Oh, man, and I was with her yesterday.
See, I can still keep a secret.
Oh, my goodness.
You can sit down if you want. This will take a while.
You gonna read the whole book?
No. I wrote some of it, so you know how long it is. Having lunch. You gonna be close on him? All right. Wow. My back was to all of you. I didn't know how many people were here. Here's the mic. Oh, sorry. Okay, Mary. All right. No, I'm not much of a speaker, and I'm not as composed as Marty is. So I'm overjoyed with joy, overwhelmed with joy, that I could be part of this. So if my joy, if it gets so overwhelming that it starts leaking out of my eyes, please send me some thoughts of composure. Well, good morning.
Good morning, Jackie.
Thank you. My name is Jackie Compton, and I would like to welcome you all here today. Thank you for coming. Really, thank you for coming. I know most of you, which is wonderful, because I never had any friends before I came into Unity. Isn't that amazing? Most of you know that I live in South County, where many of you have traveled from today. So people would ask me, why do you drive so far when you have 2 Unity churches that are within 7 minutes of your house? And I say, because Vernetta is here. And you all know what I mean by that, because you are here today to celebrate this special person and this special occasion, which you yourself have been part of creating. As a little background, Vernetta Holmes came to Unity in 1982 at the invitation of her Aunt Mary, who is here today with us. I have to tell you, Mary, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Vernetta became a licensed Unity teacher in 1998, and in the 23 years since then, she has taught hundreds of students in her humble, beautiful way. Downstairs in the fellowship hall are quotes from each of the ministers and spiritual leaders who have led this congregation for the past 20 years or so. This is Vernetta's quote. Quote, I said, if I'm going to do this, I've got to jump in full-footed. When the pandemic shut everything down in March 2020, Vernetta addressed the community spiritual need by taking a crash course in technology. She did not want to do it, as many of us don't want to do it either. But she knew that in order to support her people, she had to do it. And she jumped in full-footed. She taught herself much of the technology. She would meet Wayne here during the week, and he would record her lesson on his phone and then put it on YouTube and on the church website. When Wayne couldn't come any longer, Vernetta came alone, giving her weekly lesson to an empty church, recording it on her phone for those of us at home. Since everyone always sits in the same spot every week, she thought about putting up cardboard cutouts so she wouldn't feel so lonely when she was here by herself recording her lesson. 1 year ago in June 2020, with courage and caution, she opened the church for in-person services. I was starved for human contact. I am married, but I was still starved for human contact. And spiritual nourishment, and that is how I came here, because it was the only church operating at the time. As soon as I met Vernetta in person,
and heard her message, I knew I would become a member of this church, which I did in January of this year. Marty didn't explain in detail about her vision. In the vision, she was standing outside this church with Vernetta, and she was handing Vernetta a check to establish the Holmes Scholarship Fund. She then handed Vernetta a book, probably not this size. You know, anything worth doing is worth overdoing. Maybe she handed Vernetta a book that had Vernetta's sayings in it. Vernetta told us recently that for some time she had been thinking of asking the Board of Trustees to establish a scholarship fund. Here is a perfect example of what she was just talking about, imagination, of how the power of thought becomes manifestation. Picture this. Here is Vernetta, over here, praying for guidance concerning a scholarship fund. It's just an idea in her head and a passion in her heart. Over here is Marty. Now Marty's meditating. And Marty can meditate because Vernetta taught her how to do it. Just like a radio transmission, this energy and this affirmative action within herself, with her affirming it was already done, went into the universe, floated around looking for someone who was receptive to answer the call. Here's Marty. Marty gets the vision. Marty's receptive and picks up Vernetta's vision. So it's not surprising at all that the Holy Spirit spoke to Marty late last year, showing her Vernetta's vision that actually created this celebration today. That is how a master teacher teaches about divine law, by living the example. We come today to celebrate and honor Vernetta for her years of selfless dedication and service to the Unity community. Vernetta has outpoured generosity to us for many years, conducting services here, giving lessons at Unity South, teaching classes, being a mentor to students, being a spiritual director, counselor to everyone who's hurting, being a leader in the prayer chaplain program, giving people rides, picking up and delivering groceries to others who are at home during the pandemic. And the list goes on and on and on. Now we are outpouring our gratitude and generosity to her in establishing this fund in her name to help Unity students carry on Unity's message of truth. At the onset, Marty and I set a goal of $5,000. In the end, 50 donations came in, totaling $6,700.
Wow.
51 now, 7,000.
7,000 now.
Wow.
Well, okay, so with the average of for 6,700, that came out to an average of $134 per donation. That is a powerful statement of gratitude.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This fund will be a resource for members of this church who are pursuing their Unity teacher or ministerial license. Now, to get to the Book of Vernetta. In November 2020, after Marty had her vision, she called me and she asked if I would create a book of Vernetta-isms. I said I would love to. In February of this year, you received, most all of you received, a letter from me asking you to share your favorite Vernetta sayings. Along with that, I asked people to share their feelings of appreciation to Vernetta. We wanted you to know, Vernetta, how much you are loved and appreciated. The thing about Vernetta is, she lives her truth. You saw it here today when she gave her message. With no pretense or thought of accolade, she prays before she speaks, and the words she speaks are prayers of blessing. Her love is obvious, her humility is uplifting, and her laughter and her humor are contagious. There's a story about how people would come and just sit in Charles Fillmore's office as he worked. He didn't have to be talking to them. He would just work, and they would sit in his office, in his presence, because his faith, wisdom, and love, his Christ presence, was so vibrant and alive that these people just wanted to be near him. And that's why I love being near you, Vernetta. Your Christ presence shines forth. When you find someone who demonstrates their Christ expression, stay in their light, and their light will ignite your own light. Reverend Lee Remington, who could not be here today because she is speaking at practically an empty Unity South, put it best in her note of appreciation that's in this book. She wrote, Vernetta, you are a beautiful, brilliant light in God's world. Your light has helped so many, many others uncover the light that is within them. How fitting it is that your light shines so brightly in a church with that very same name. I am grateful for your light you have shared with me. And we are all so grateful to you for saying yes to Spirit's call. The Book of Vernetta is divided into 4 parts. The first part is the sayings that mean so much to everyone. There are about 100 quotes that have touched people's hearts. Well, there was more, but I only had 120 pages in the book.
Thank God.
Yeah, you have to make an appointment to look through it. It takes so long. The second part is 56 heartfelt notes of appreciation from all of us to you. The third part is 3 poems I wrote, and the fourth is a list of the donors to the Holmes Scholarship Fund. God is in the blessing business. That's my favorite Vernetta. Indeed, God is in the blessing business. And so we, all of us, created this book for you. Not me, but the Spirit and all of us. To bless you and to show you how much we love him. Now I'd like to ask Tim, so in conclusion, I would like to ask Tim LaFernie to come up and just read the introduction to this book.
Good morning.
Good morning.
In the beginning, God created the heavens, earth, and many things. God's unbridled happiness and joyful energy filled every atom of space with millions of glorious colors and light. And radiant beauty shone from the sky, the mountains, oceans, and all that God had expressed himself through. God giggled as he worked in his delight, and the vibrations of his hearty laughter were so great that they filled his creations with wondrous voice. Sweet songs in the birds, babbling melodies in the brooks, rustling sounds in the trees, and the braying, cooing, mooing, and other sounds of animals that God had created. And God said, I shall make man and woman in my own image, that they may enjoy all these beautiful sights and sounds that I have created. And God did create man and woman, and infused them all with his divine creative powers. And much begatting occurred in the land of Usa. And USA is the United States of America. It came to pass that the people of USA had lost their way and forgotten that they were divine beings. Then God said, I will make a woman who carries within her heart my godly attributes, that she may guide my flock and teach them how to love and serve with joy. Thereupon, God created a girl child, and she was called Vernetta. And God saw what he had made, and indeed, it was very good. And the child Vernetta grew into womanhood, strong in stature. She learned many lessons, and humbly carried within her heart the love and the blessings of God. And in Vernetta's own delight and experiences God's divine magnificence, she did go forth into the land of USA and did teach the good news of God's love. Herein are the messages of love, peace, and hope in the Book of Vernetta. Vernetta Holmes.
Okay, now look. I know this is just a ploy to make me cry. Walk the talk. Because I always say, always be a cheerful receiver as well as
That's in the book.
And it's very hard for me to sit here this morning and hear all this. I mean, not hard in that respect, but it's not me. It's the spirit within that does the work. And I'm glad you didn't have those missing years where the spirit wasn't quite ready to. But thank you. I'm really at a loss for words right now, so I want to thank each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart. I thought you just happened in here this morning. Oh my God, I didn't have a clue. I'm thinking, who's that sound?
Nobody.
Lee and I were talking about switching Sundays, so I don't know what would happen there. I don't want to hold anyone any longer. If I had known, I would have had a shorter lesson. This is an image moment, because this is something I've always wanted to be able, that anyone studying, to be able to go to school, because I was like that. I didn't have the funds, but I always had the image that I was going to make it through. So this is excellent, because the board and I will sit down and talk about, you know, how it would be distributed and how we'll handle those that request to use it. So, oh my God, thank you so much. Now